So, Passpartout, the starving artist. Where to begin? This is a very unusual, odd little game, I have to admit. Obviously, I'm not going to go into huge spoiler territory any further on that the road, although there isn't a huge amount to spoil in this game. But the essential crux of the game is you play a struggling artist looking to make their way in the world. You are Passpartout, the actual name of the player. The name of the artist you are actually playing is called Passpartout. And the idea is that using your mouse, or if you've got the money and the inclination for it, a tablet, you can actually draw and paint everything that you want for Passpartout to sell, to progress in the world, whether that's just to make money, to appeal to a specific demographic, or just to paint pictures of dicks until people start buying them. There's a lot out there. It's a very interesting idea for a game, and it's not something I've really seen. I think the only other game I could even think of that does something close to this is Scribblenauts, which is more word-based, where you're using just combinations of words to create things to solve problems, and there are lots of alternative ways to solve that problem, which is, again, that idea of putting a lot of the agency in the player's hands, but not necessarily giving them, like, you can do this, this, or this. It's more of a, you need to do that. Go crazy. Which I think is really nice. I really wish more games had the balls to try and attempt stuff like this, because it's so good to see games trying to make you do new things, experience new things. I don't know if there's anything like this in terms of music. I hope there is, because if so, I'd love to give that a try as well. But overall, I think this is the kind of game that we really should encourage. Passpartout the Starving Artist is a really nice concept, executed fairly well. It's about £7. If you do find this idea fairly interesting, I would say just cut it here. It's worth giving a shot. If you see it on sale, that's even better. But I would say this is a game that you really do owe yourself to at least give a try. However, if you've heard my slight reservations and you don't want to necessarily chuck that money away straight away, maybe I should be a little bit more clear. The game is a really nice concept. But concepts do not equal execution. Execution is a whole other side of things. Flamebait Games, the guys who developed and published this, I think it's their first major project. In fact, I think it may be their first project total. And I can totally see that this is a first game. It's got the idea there, and you can tell there's a huge amount of creativity going into the game. The graphics, while simple, are very artful, very cartoony, and nicely realised. The music is lovely. Is absolutely lovely. They actually sell the OST, although, to be fair, most games now sell the official soundtrack to most games just as a, go on, you liked one track on that, £4, have it. The one drawback I find is that because this is a very new company and a very new development, the guts and the execution of the game are where it starts to fall down. You may have noticed if you saw my Let's Play of the game, I was fine with a lot of what the game was doing. Unfortunately, the one major problem I had was I only had a mouse, and the tools I had to hand were very basic. Now, I'm not exactly a total newbie. I have Photoshop. I use it to create the icon art, and I use it to do some other stuff as well. I know how to use Photoshop, but this is making me use, and this is the one drawback I think that Passpartout really suffers from, is it lacks any complex tools. You have a spray can, you have a paintbrush, and you have a fine line tool, which is effectively something where if you start dragging it, you can then alter the trajectory of it as it's moving to get a more fine line. There is no way of smudging, blurring, erasing, or burning, or anything like that. Any of the stuff that I'd be used to in a more advanced bit of image creation software. And I find like I don't want to be that hard on the game because it's a really nice idea and I really want to make it. It's like the puppy that you take home and you love it and you care for it and you want it to be the best little puppy in the world. But for the love of God, if it shits on the floor one more time, I'm going to punt it out a fucking window. That's the problem I have with Passpartout. Because I have ideas and I have ways I want to realise it. But if you don't have a drawing tablet, you've got a massive handicap in the game. Immediately. That is not to say that you won't be able to sell stuff. No, it is that if you've got an idea, you are stuck with the mouse. And the mouse is a terrible way to draw things. I don't know about you. I don't know if you've drawn stuff just with the mouse. I've got to the point of nausea. This is a slight issue I have personally, where I can't thread a needle without feeling a little queasy. That whole really trying to get the pixel dead on. Whereas if I'm using a tablet, I can go la 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 and just swipe across the screen and it's all nice and easy. I just found that it was tremendously frustrating to both have a very limited palette to work with in terms of colour and in terms of brushes, And also that if I didn't have a tablet, a natural drawing tablet, and again, I would only ever buy that to play this game. I would never buy it to do anything else with it. So it feels like a really odd use of the peripheral. If they could make, again, this is where I go into the sort of, if they had more money, they could have done this, but it's totally unfair on them. If they could have had something, say, for a smartphone or an actual, like, display tablet, either of those would allow me to use stuff I already have, which everyone would have at this point. Well, I suppose I meet people who have the old LED-based screens, and I'm like, dear God, what the fuck kind of pleb are you? But anyway, I just find like if this had been maybe a later project for Flamebait, they may have had the time and the budgeting and the resources to make the drawing part of it a little bit more openly accessible. And I find that that's, at the same time, a very valid criticism, but also a really shitty criticism to level against this game, because I still enjoyed it. I still liked it, even though I did get quite grumbly and salty because I wasn't able to realise the images that I had in my mind. But that's more on me, that's not necessarily on the game. Something that I think would be on the game, and something which I find I don't have a problem with, but I definitely know completionists would definitely have an issue with, is there are multiple endings to the game. You can become anything from a cult phenomenon who's only known in very niche circles to a big corporate graphic designer or official commissioner or, sorry, commissionee, paid for artist, you know what I mean? By some rich, inbred psychopath up in a tower somewhere. And there's all sorts of different stages in between. And the idea is you progress depending on which group you appeal to. That's cool. I have no fucking clue how to appeal to any of those groups. I was just going off of whatever works and sells money, cool, that will keep the food going. If I don't know how to progress, and I mean, I'm assuming there are now guides out there. I have been looking on the community forums, and there are still one or two things not everyone knows. So there's a lot to work out still. I would have really liked just some kind of... I mean, actually, you know what? That's actually a really fundamental thing about most creative work. There is no point in just going, that's shit. There is no point in going up to an artist, going up to a musician, actor, whatever, and going, that was really bad. If you do not then go, I'd have preferred, or why didn't you do X? Because if we then know what to aim for, we can then improve and adapt and focus on those groups. If the game had given me that, if it hadn't just been someone walking up to a painting and gone, oh, this is crap, then I could have gone, if you'd gone, say for example, oh, that's too garish, or oh, I would have preferred this with that, or something like that. They've gone, I want to appeal to those guys, this is the kind of stuff I need to start working on. I really don't know if that was the guys just not wanting to make the game too easy and too easy to figure out how to get your stuff around, or if it was more a case of, I just didn't really think of it at the time. But it did get frustrating, and I really wish that we hadn't had that problem. That said, it's a first game from a small company who had a really good idea and, for better or worse, executed it pretty nicely. They've worked with their own gaming. They've worked with their own gamer community. They've actually done weekly competitions of designs, and some people have put out amazing quality stuff. So again, this is the review coming from the guy who has got two big, just salted hams for hands and cannot art for the sake of anything. But there is a great community that these guys have actually fostered, and I feel that if they have got the nous and if they really commit to this, they can actually put out something similar to this with more options, a better balance of design, and more to do. And it would be absolutely fantastic. I would almost say something like this would be worth putting like actually in like an art curriculum, because it's such a great way of gamifying the creative experience and pushing people to try new mediums, try new balances of color and design and stuff. That would be so cool. I would love that. But again, this is me getting pie in the sky. Oh, wouldn't it be lovely if we could all do that? But anyway, this is a game I would definitely recommend if you see it on sale. I mean, it's £7 standard price. If you can get it for cheaper than that, it's an absolute bloody bargain. It's a bit of a time waster, but it's a very nice, innovative little time waster. And honestly, those are the sort you should really encourage. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. I enjoy playing it. I really wish I'd had more time and I'd actually had a tablet in order to draw with it, but as it stood, solid little game, did exactly what it says on the tin, just wish it had a little bit more in it. But anyway, thank you very much for listening, and when we come back, I will be doing some other stuff, some more smaller, arty, weird, and wonderful little games. And yes, well, thank you very much for listening to me witter on for just under 10 minutes, and I will thank you for thank you very much for listening, and goodbye.